Today, we're diving into a fascinating short story that kicks off with a simple, everyday mystery. We're going to see how the amazing Virginia Woolf takes one tiny little mark on a wall and spins it into this incredible journey deep inside the human mind. You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You're just kind of staring off into space, maybe at a crack in the ceiling, and bam, 10 minutes have just vanished. One thought just snowballs into another, and then another. It's something we all do.
Well, Virginia Woolf just masterfully captures this exact feeling. She turns this tiny moment of observation into a huge exploration of consciousness. For the narrator in this story, a quiet moment by the fire gets interrupted by this little black mark on the wall. And that one tiny thing is the spark for everything that's about to happen.
So, to really get this story, you've got to know a little about the author. Virginia Woolf was a total master of modernism, and she was famous for a revolutionary way of telling stories. See, she wasn't just interested in what people did. She wanted to explore the rich, messy, and super complicated world of what was going on inside their heads. And to pull that off, she perfected this technique called stream of consciousness. It's designed to be just like how our minds actually work. You know, jumping all over the place, from ideas to memories to feelings. So instead of a straight-line plot, we're basically hopping on board the narrator's train of thought, and we have no idea where it's going to go.
All right, so the story kicks off in a pretty normal setting. Our narrator is just chilling in a room on a winter's day. They've had tea, a fire's going, they're smoking a cigarette, just feeling super relaxed and thoughtful.
And then they spot it, this small, black, round mark. It's nothing special, really, but it's new, it's there, and that's enough to grab their attention and kickstart this incredible mental adventure. And here we go. This is where the narrator's mind just takes off. That little mark interrupts their quiet daydreaming and becomes the new starting point for this whole waterfall of thoughts.
The brain immediately tries to solve the puzzle, right? It needs to put a label on it. So the first logical thing that pops into their head is that it's just a nail left in the wall. Simple enough. But of course, the mind doesn't just stop at nail. No way. It instantly starts building a whole story around it. It must be a nail for a tiny portrait, which then leads to imagining the people who lived there before, what they were like, their furniture, their personalities, all of that, just from a single guess. But then, just as fast as that idea came, it gets questioned. The narrator thinks, no, it's too big, too round to be a nail. So the brain just tosses that theory out and grabs onto a new, more interesting one.
And this is the next leap. Maybe it's a little rose leaf left over from the summer, and that thought just spirals into reflections about how messy and random life is, and housekeeping, and then all the way to ancient history, like the dust that buried the city of Troy. This tangent really gets to the core of it all. The narrator starts thinking about all the things we lose in life. Cages, jewels, you name it. They compare life to being shot through a high-speed tunnel and coming out the other side all disoriented. It's such a powerful way to describe the pure randomness of being alive. So this train of thought keeps building, and it gets even more philosophical. From the chaos of life, the narrator's thoughts turn inward, to thinking about the self and how society is structured.
This brings up a really deep question about who we are. The narrator thinks about the image we have of ourselves, our reflection. What happens if that carefully crafted image just shatters? What's even left of us when the version we show the world is gone?
So Woolf is exploring this really cool idea here. We all live with this super rich, deep inner version of ourselves. But the person that other people see, that's just a simplified shell, like a reflection in a mirror. She even suggests that future storytellers will be more interested in these phantom-like reflections than just what happens on the outside.
And this critique goes from the self to all of society. The narrator remembers all the strict rules from the past, like Sunday lunches and using specific tablecloths, things that seemed so incredibly real and important. But now she sees they were just man-made rules, half phantoms, that we can actually choose to ignore and find a new kind of freedom. Okay, so after all this deep, free-flowing philosophical thinking, a new feeling starts to sneak in. It's that classic conflict between enjoying the journey of your imagination and that nagging little desire to just know the answer. And here, the narrator kind of pushes back against that urge. What's the real point of knowledge anyway? If she gets up, walks over, and finds out the mark is just some boring old nail, what has she really gained? She'd lose this entire rich world of ideas for one single, uninteresting fact.
And yet, that human need for certainty is a really powerful thing. Even with all the joy of imagination,
There's this deep-down desire for something solid and real to hold on to, like a plank in the sea of our own thoughts. It just feels good to know for sure.
And this brings us right to the story's climax. This whole internal debate between imagination and reality is about to get settled. But not by the narrator. It's going to be an interruption from the outside world.
So after all this, what was it? We've gone from a nail to a rose leaf to a crack in the wood. I mean, this tiny little mark has become this huge, important thing in our minds.
And then suddenly, someone else walks into the room. Their reality just slices right through the narrator's complicated web of thoughts. They say something about the war, and then, almost as an afterthought, they mention the thing on the wall.
And just like that, the mystery's over. It's a snail. The reveal is so ordinary, so comically simple, that it just perfectly highlights the huge difference between the boring, factual world outside and the massive, elaborate, and way more exciting world inside our own heads.
Because in the end, this story was never really about the mark on the wall. It wasn't about the snail at all. It was about showing that the most insignificant little thing can spark a whole universe of thought, memory, and philosophy. The real adventure happened right inside the narrator's mind.
And this leaves us with a really good question to think about. In our rush to get answers, to know the facts, to find all the snails in our lives, how many of these incredible, imaginative journeys do we stop before they even have a chance to begin? What kind of amazing things might we discover if we just let our minds wander a little more often?